Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert here from the Business Awards show, and I'm also the founder of the Best Business Women Awards. And today we're going to be talking toilets. I am joined by the amazing Becky Wall, who has a fantastic luxury mobile toilet company called a Plush Flush. And she is also the organizer of the Loo of the Year Awards, which have been running for 37 years. And Becky took these over in 2021 because she has a background not only in the world of luxury toilets, but also in event management. So welcome, Becky.
Hi, Debbie. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's lovely, lovely, lovely to have you to talk about your Lou Awards and your background and what you've been doing. And it's all really, really interesting. And I think it's a side of maybe the awards industry that a lot of people wouldn't even know exists. So tell me about your history to start with, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Lou of the Year Awards.
Okay, so when I was about 26, I decided to start my own event management company after having done a long distance learning degree with the University of Florida. Because at the time, we weren't over event management in this country. America were all over it, but we hadn't got those degrees in place. So I did that, started my own event management company. And what we were finding when we were hiring in toilets for events is they weren't particularly great. They were okay. They were called luxury toilets, but they didn't have the finish that I passionately wanted to see. I wanted to see them like a cloakroom that
Mm.
just was pulled in rather than just something on wheels. So we started our own company called a Plush Flush. And in that, we made sure that we had everything that you would need, right down to, in the ladies, a basket of amenities, so
Mm.
that for any emergency, they were covered, fresh flowers, cosmetic tissues. And then in the gents, they had fresh flowers, cosmetic tissues, deodorant, and an eau de toilette. So they could refresh as well during the day. Because a lot of the events I was doing were either high profile weddings or corporate
Mm.
events, and they were quite long days. So
Mm.
for me, I didn't just want to see clean, immaculate toilets with paper and everything else. I wanted them to be able to go in there, like I say, like a cloakroom, have a refresh, and start again. So we've been doing that now since 2005. So that's been quite a long-term business. And within that, we were nominated to take part in Lou of the Year Awards. Now, up until then, I hadn't heard of Lou of the Year Awards, and this was in 2009 we first took part. And there was a category for mobile toilets. So we entered. Now, a bit more difficult with mobile toilets to the normal toilets because the inspectors come unannounced. So what we had to do was give them a range of dates and talk to our clients and say they may well turn up and this is what they're going to do. Anyway, we did really well. We got a top grading. And so we decided from then on, actually, we would enter ourselves, because you can do, to keep our standards up and
Mm.
also then go to their events and awards day so that we could keep up with the knowledge of what was happening in the industry as well, because things do change. And obviously, cleaning changes and also what's available within hand towels and all the things that go with the health and safety.
Mm.
So we have been entering ever since. And then, of course, COVID hit in 2020, and the then owner and runner of Lou of the Year Awards asked me, because everything had stopped with us for our toilets, there was no events. There was a few single ones out to schools and things. Could we or would we like to inspect toilets for that season? So my husband and I said, okay, yes, we can do that. We know exactly what you're looking for. So we had some training and off we went and did some inspections. And yeah, that was fun, looking at the gradings and seeing where it fitted and how it fitted into my expectations and how it fitted into the grading matrix. And then just after we'd finished that, he said, well, actually, he said it was a bit of a sprat to catch a mackerel. And I said, oh, why is that? And he said, I'm looking to retire. And I wonder if you wanted to buy the business and take it over because you're just so passionate about toilets. And we'd won quite a high award with the Lou of the Year Awards back in 2015. The next one down to the top, like the individual category one. And So I thought about it for a while, and I thought, well, it does mean now we can't enter our toilets.
Mm.
We can have them graded by one of our inspectors, but we can't actually, so we can have a grade, but we can't actually now go for any of the awards. Does that matter? And then I thought, no, actually, it doesn't matter, because my passion for toilets, trying to get standards higher throughout the 63 categories that are in the Loo of the Year Awards, actually made me feel that it was much more important. I was much more passionate about that. So we did. We took the plunge in 2021 and bought the Loo of the Year Awards. So we now run a small team of inspectors who go out unannounced to through the months of August and September usually, and then we collate all those scores, all those gradings, and put together an event, which usually happens in January.
How exciting. So, you've obviously turned the tables, like you said earlier, about entering awards to now becoming, the owner of the Washroom Oscars. I mean, this is what they're known as. This is an incredible awards. There isn't anyone else, is there, running awards aimed at gorgeous, clean, hygienic toilets in the in the UK. So, from your point of view, sort of switching it across, it's only been beneficial to your business rather than it hasn't been detrimental, has it?
No, no, no. And I think the thing is, it's the same for anyone that enters. With a Plush Flush, where we were getting awards and we were putting them out on our website, and I must admit, for us, it did open some very, very nice blue chip company contracts.
Brilliant.
Because the marketing of it, people would Google award-winning toilets, and up we would come, and there with the certificates. So it really did us the power of good. But that's also the case for any of these people that enter with us now that are not mobile. So some of the categories are historic buildings, some of them are restaurants and pubs. There's also transport. There's also a lot of caravans and camping. But what it does is it tells people like us that want to visit those places that they've had a significant grading and they care about what they do, and those toilets we're going to visit are going to be of a good standard. I talked about on a message I'd put on LinkedIn a week or so ago is, why would you want to be a toilet inspector? Well, actually, if we all think about it, we all do it, Debbie. Just that I go in with a clipboard and 101 points of British standards and law for disabled access and things like that. We just go in with a clipboard and do it, but we all do it. And from a child, I also put this in, I remember driving up outside places with my parents, and my mum would rush in and then she'd say, no, we're not staying here to eat, or yes, we can stay here to eat. And I used to think, what's she doing? And then as I got older, I asked the question, what are we doing? And she said, I'm having a look at the toilets, because if they can't look after and keep clean what we can see, what's going on behind the scenes? And the more I thought about that as I grew up, the more I felt myself doing very similar. And now, of course, as an inspector, I do it all the time, whether I'm doing it as a paid inspection or whether I'm just out for the weekend and I walk in somewhere and I go, oh, these are nice, these look good, or oh dear, that needs a bit of attention. I'm still doing it all the time, because it's now become, for a sad reason, I suppose, my passion. For a nice reason, because we want to get those standards higher.
But I love this, and I love the fact this is your passion, because it's also led you onto the board of the British Toilet Association, hasn't it? Talk a bit about that. What's their remit? What are they trying to do?
So the British Toilet Association are very much campaigning for more public toilets. So though we do judge councils and public toilets, we're doing a spectrum of everybody. British Toilet Association is more about the public toilets that we see in our high streets and on our coastal lines, getting them more funding, getting more of them, because a lot of the councils seem to think that, it's an expense, we'll close them down, we'll save money. But on the flip side of that, what they're not realizing is the fact that if you haven't got public toilets that are fit for purpose, people will not come into your town or your city to spend time. They won't stay. So for an example, if you were going to London today and you wanted to go to a show, you were going to go out for lunch, but you were only going for the day, you would think about where you could use the toilets and where they would be pleasant. If they're not there, you won't go in for the day. You might just pop in to do the show and then back out again. So they're not actually saving any money. They're in the flip side, probably costing themselves more because there is not the money coming into that community.
Yeah.
So that's what they're then also campaigning for, hopefully a toilet commissioner within Parliament, so that we can actually be looking for more toilets opening and councils taking more responsibility for it. It's quite exciting.
Excellent. No, and how long have you been involved with that?
I've been on the BTA now for 18 months.
Oh, wow,
so,
that's really good.
Yeah.
And I guess that door opened because of the, your profile within the toilet industry, really.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I was very lucky that I knew some of them because of being entering the toilets and the Loo of the Year awards. You do crossover, that you've met them at awards when you've been networking and things like that. So you start to get to know people. And then when we took over and people realized, as you say, the profile that we were trying to do, we were raising, and how vocal I can be. I think it was the case of, well, yes, let's get her on. It's another branch that we can look at. So where they campaign, we celebrate. So like with the awards, I love the awards because my event management side comes out and I put it all together and I brand it all and everything. It's really exciting. But for me, I'm just putting a platform at the awards for everyone else who's worked really hard to get good grades and are likely to have an award, to celebrate what they've achieved, and also to look at where they can go forward to get more. That makes sense.
Yeah. I love the fact that you turned your awards into almost like a mini conferencey style event where you've got lots of different suppliers coming along with various things that might enhance the toilet. Talk me a bit about that.
Okay, so our awards always happen through the day, and so people can come in the morning, have coffee, and the first thing they can do is a little bit of networking with others, but also with exhibitors. And I try to make a range of exhibitors from everything you might need for a small business, as well as things that would enhance the washroom. So we could have somebody like Citron Hygiene, who would be one of our main sponsors. So they would be one of the people that would come and sort out all your chemicals and your disposable bins for sanitary ware and things like that. But then on the other hand, I might have a printer or an accountant or somebody with specialized washroom cleaning machines. So, there's usually something for people to see new what's going on. So a big thing we're working with at the moment is period dignity and using sort of reusable or safe sanitary ware and things like that. So, we're trying to look at something each time, and then they have another chance of talking to those people and working with those people at lunchtime while we're turning the room around from doing the first set of awards to when we're going to have dinner. We also have a little session where in between awards we may have some guest speakers, and they may be the sponsors who are talking about new things within the industry, or we've had the British Cleaning Council talk about how hard it was through COVID, but how wonderful it was that people have came together and worked really hard to keep us safe. And then this year we did a platform for changing places, because we've now got, I think it's 2,300 changing places in the UK, which is so important for families that have got people that are usually got all sorts of different disabilities and need those extra rooms with the hoists and things to be able to change them and give them the experiences that the rest of us have, being able to go out every day. So we use it for celebration, we use it for knowledge, we use it just to really give people a little bit of a taste of all things that are happening.
Yeah, which is amazing, because I was one of those people who used to take their disabled mother out. My mum had multiple sclerosis.
Oh, bless her.
And bless her, she was doubly incontinent, and therefore it was difficult because taking her out anywhere, you know, in those days, and she's passed away 6 years ago, there really wasn't anywhere. And I used to say to people, you know, you've got changing facilities for nappies, but there's nowhere to change somebody unless I went into a disabled toilet cubicle with her, with somebody else.
And put
So
them
the
on the
two of
floor.
us, yeah, or one lifting other. I mean,
Yeah,
it was a palaver to go
horrendous.
anywhere for a day. It really was.
Yes,
You'd sort of have to limit your time slot, if you like, to about 2 to 3 hours maximum, because you couldn't do it for any longer, really.
no.
So I was really, really thrilled to see that that was becoming more commonplace, because I think it's so, so important. So that's really good news.
And
So
it's
in
quite,
terms, yeah, go on, sorry.
I was just quite interested you said multiple sclerosis as well, because in my off time, if I ever really get that, I'm a trustee for Herefordshire Multiple Sclerosis Support Trust.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
Oh,
so I see firsthand from some of the people that come to us for help that very thing that you're saying, and so it's so important for me, um, for changing places, not only to be built, but for us to see them being kept to a standard that are still safe and usable
yeah.
for all these people that need it. So
Yeah, because it's lovely to be able to have a day out at the seaside or a day out in a city somewhere and do, you know, because disabled access now is a lot better than it used to be.
it is, yeah, yeah.
Um, I spent probably about 4 months in a wheelchair myself 2 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
I know I had an accident, and that accident happened in 2018. So that year I spent several months, and then I had to have another operation. So you kind of see how difficult life is for people with a disability. And navigating toilets is also a huge problem.
Yes.
Because I think, you know, people dash into a disabled toilet because there's a queue, but they don't really realise that if you're in a wheelchair, you can't use a normal toilet.
No.
So doing that and queue jumping, and, you know, that happened to me numerous times
Yeah.
where I
Yeah.
think, you know, hang on a minute, you can queue up and use a normal loo. And I appreciate you might be desperate, but when you're in a wheelchair, you don't have that option. You
No.
can't get into a normal cubicle to use
No.
it. So
No.
I think, you know, initiatives like the one that you're talking about are just so important. And I love the fact that you're at the forefront of an industry that probably most people, dare I say it, take it for granted.
They take it for granted, but they also think of it as a conversation that shouldn't be had because it's like it's personal. Everything's personal when it comes to toilet habits. And it's not, because
Mm.
if there's one sure thing, every one of us has to do that. It's not something we choose, it's part of our makeup. And why shouldn't we be safe,
Yeah.
when we do it? And whether that's because we're safe because there's locks on the door, there's proper lighting, it's clean, so we're less likely to pick up, bacterial germs and things like that. We shouldn't have to worry about it. It should be the norm.
Mm.
And I think that's what we're trying now more and more with the Loo of the Year awards, is we're saying to people, you've got gradings. They run from bronze to platinum plus, which is 5, a bit like the
Mm.
food hygiene's 5. And then we have a diamond, which is like, this is a wow toilet, that's really wow.
This is one
But
you'd want to eat your dinner in.
well, that's right, that sort of thing. But we've got these 5 gradings now, and we're putting stickers on doors where, we're not just giving them a certificate, we're saying, here's your grading, show it to people so people know that you do care. And, I think, A, it's good marketing for the people that are entering, but B, for us as the public, if I see a premises that's got a 5 for health, for the hygiene, I'm quite happy to go and eat in there because I know that they care and they've had an inspection, and it's theirs is unannounced as well, and they're doing okay. So, well, they're doing better than okay. They're doing good at 5. So you're happy to go in there, and that's what we want to teach with the toilets now. We want people to recognise those gradings so that they are happy to go and use them, and they appreciate that that establishment, whatever it is trying its best to provide the best standard it can for us while we're away from home.
I think it's incredible. So, as someone now who's had a business for 26 years, a long time, if anyone's listening to this and they're maybe in that early stage of their business journey, what sort of advice would you give to them?
be honest. Whatever you're doing with your business, be honest. Because you don't have to tell your clients everything, but be honest. When I started with this one, I said, look, it's going to be small steps. We're taking over something new. It's not broken, but it needs changes. We're going to do this, but I can't tell you how fast we're going to do it, but you will see us do things. And I think that has been the best we could be, to being honest, to telling people, these are our intentions and this is what we'd like to do. The other thing is to talk to your market. If you've taken over a business, I went to see some of the biggest of the entrants that join Lou of the Year Awards, say, and did some case studies with them. What do you want out of the Lou of the Year Awards? Why do you enter the Lou of the Year Awards? What could be done better? So that I could understand what my customer base was. So whatever business you're in, is to talk to people, ask open questions, find out what the feeling is there, what's missing. Is there a niche that you can pop into? But best of all, don't be afraid if something goes wrong or if you make a mistake, because we all learn from that. We all worry about, oh no, we've done it wrong and that's it, that's the end. It's not, because you can put it right by putting your hands up saying, look, made a mistake, that didn't work, so we're going to try this. And you personally are learning at the same time. Also, I think networking, meeting people that are in totally different businesses to you, but at the end of the day, you're all doing the same goal. You're running a business to make money, to have a life. So talk to other people about things they do, and there might be just something they do that makes you think, actually, I could adapt that to work for my business. But networking is really, really important. And I think with the toilets, more than anything, the mobile toilets, my husband and I put those toilets out every time like it's the first time they went out. Because when you're doing a wedding, you don't know how many customers could be yours potentially in there. It's my window, it's my shop window, what I do. So, I think that's the thing, is don't think that anybody is less important when it's in business, whether it's with the Lou of the Year Awards, whether they give you one entry, whether they give you 100 entries. They're all important, because that one entry could lead to a lot more. You don't know. Everybody's important. Your customers are all important. So I think that's the other thing is, make sure that you give your best as much as you can.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said is so important. And, when you're putting on an event, you want the very best toilets that you can have. And if you've got people using those toilets, they're going to potentially pass your details on, aren't they, to somebody else if they have a good experience. Because I've used probably the worst sort of portaloos at events, particularly some festivals don't have the best ones.
No.
But I love the ones at Chillfest in Tring. So you have to pay £10 for your wristband. But they have some of the things that you've talked about, accoutrements and flowers, and it's all kept really nice. And they've got somebody constantly cleaning and making sure
Stocking
that they're
up.
all left. Yeah.
And
I think it makes a big difference, because to be honest with you, I've been to events where I won't go back because the toilets are so bad. The portaloos are dreadful. Those green plastic ones that nobody's attending to. And they just end up completely blocked up and not very nice at all.
And you see, you've hit the nail on the head. It's about attending to. We've got some similar ones that we do for big events, but we've got grey ones. And we used to do a lot of work before COVID for the Celtic Manor when they had their big events. They don't run any at the moment since COVID, unfortunately, but we used to have big polo events and things like that. So we'd have the luxury trailers that they'd put in for people that wanted to use the bands or were sponsors and things like that. And then they'd, for general public, have the single plastics. And people used to laugh because they'd say, well, why are these never like they are when they go to some of the music festivals? These are really clean and tidy. They're so nice. But it was because we were on them all the time.
Yeah,
we were going around, emptying the bins, making sure they'd been flushed through, making sure it was all stocked, and it just made such a difference to everybody's experience. Ours, as the person that was looking after them, and the user as well. So it is about attending them and making sure
Yeah,
that they're looked after. It doesn't take a lot, does it?
I
It's
know,
not
I
rocket
know.
science, really.
No, and it's so important. So
Yes.
how could people enter the Loo of the Year Awards? What's the entry procedure?
Okay, so the entry procedure is online. If they go on to www.loo.co.uk,
Hmm.
and on there is the entry form. There's also all the categories, and then they can have a look. They can do it online or they can print it off and send it to us. If they have any questions, my awards manager, Jane, is brilliant. She'll help guide them through it because there may be several categories that they could enter. But if they talk through them with her, she would tell them which one's the best to enter.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
Okay.
And then what happens? They get
Then
an
what happens?
inspection.
They get an unannounced inspection. So there is a fee for the entry, but obviously that's so we can
Yeah,
pay our inspectors to come
yeah,
around. So they get then an unannounced inspection where we come in and we, as I say, tick our 101 points off and do our measurements and everything else we need to do. And then that comes back to us all and collated sort of October time,
mhm,
where we then send out to everybody what their grades are. And
okay.
if they've done really, really well, then when we have our team meeting, we put forward people with high marks for the best in their category. Then they could be the best in England or Wales or Ireland or Scotland. And then they may end up getting a UK award, which is the silver trophy at the end, depending on their standard, you see.
Mm.
So, it's quite exciting that you get your grade. And if it's quite a high grade, there is a chance that you could go on and win a lot more, and I think there's now 18 trophies that are on
Wow.
offer,
Yeah.
including the overall Loo of the Year award. We did put some new trophies in last year because we know that we've got quite a lot of corporate entries, big entries, and they can win quite a lot of things because the multiple entries makes your scores better, doesn't it?
Mm.
But we've also looked for the little independents as well. And one that my husband, as chairman, put forward was he wanted a chairman's award that he could award to anybody. So for anything. So last year, I got awarded the first time to a caravan site who's been entering for over 20 years and has always had top grades, always
Mm.
been really high. So we recognise that. And then a new trophy that's coming this time is for the most improved facilities.
Mm.
So when you put an entry in for the awards, you can either have what we call an A entry, which is we just come in, score it, grade it, or you can pay a bit more for a B entry, where we come in and we give you a feedback of what's good, what needs to be improved, how you can move up to the next grade. And so the most improvement cup was put forward by one of our inspectors who said, look, we've been and inspected this now 3 years in a row. And each time we've given them something on the B report, when we've gone back, they've done it and they've improved it.
Well,
So
that's
we
good.
so we
Yeah.
want to see something for recognition. So we said, well, okay, well, we'll do a most improved facilities cup and we'll start with that
Mm.
person that you've brought forward. Well, you think that when we did the awards and we presented that trophy to that campsite, you'd have thought we'd given them the world because they're
Oh.
a small family business, not a big budget, but are trying to improve all the time.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, it was good. So that's what we're doing as well. We're looking all the time
That's
to,
amazing.
to give things to encourage people.
Yeah, so going back to that campsite, I mean, a small independent campsite having good washroom and toilet facilities can actually make or break their business. I mean,
Absolutely. And to
if
have
you're to have that
something,
accolade would be massive to
that's
them.
it. And to have that for marketing purposes, as
Mm.
well, it will stop and make people think, won't it? And have a look.
Absolutely. I would
So
definitely, if I was looking at going to a campsite, I would definitely be looking at things like that because I have been to some horrendous campsites in my time. My children have grown up now, thank goodness. But the sort of ones where you want to put your flip-flops on when you go in, or some that you don't even want to take off your shoes because they're that bad, the showering and toilet facilities. So I think that kind of accolade is so important and will definitely help them get new clients without a doubt. Definitely.
yes, yeah,
100%.
So
Well, it's been great to talk to you.
and
I
you,
mean,
Debbie.
I could talk to you for hours. This is so interesting. And it's literally an industry that I was one of those people, I really didn't know it existed almost. You just go and you use a toilet. And I am very fussy about the toilets I use for my events. Anybody who knows me will know that I am that person that will check the toilets out and would not book a venue if they didn't have very good toilets. I would walk away because I think it's so important. And I think what your mum said made me laugh, because I was one of those mothers that did that when my kids were little. Because if people don't care about their toilet, they definitely are not going to be caring about the kitchen and the other facilities in the building. 100%. So your mum did you a favour with that. That was probably what fed your interest, maybe.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think so. That's probably what fed the passion at the beginning. Yes.
So good luck with the awards for next year. We will make sure we post the details in the chat notes from the, sorry, I should say show notes, the show notes from this episode. And we'll also pop them onto the YouTube channel. They will be in the description, so you can contact Becky, find out more about her event in January next year. If you are in that industry, you may find it'll be interesting to connect up with you. But also if you are a facility that has toilets and you want to get recognized for having a plush flush in your establishment, and part of the Oscars of the toilet industry. So thank you for joining me, wishing you lots of luck, and yeah, great. Good luck with the future. Thank you.
Thank you.